Here is episode 4, Leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses or any high control group with children, which itself is a whole entire problem on its own. In the beginning of waking up, I immediately thought, okay, if I was single, I would just not go anymore. I would just stay away. And that would have been no problem. But my big deal was, I have kids. I have taught them this black and white thinking. The world is bad. And all the things that we have to do, what's wrong or right. And honestly, do you not discredit yourself a little bit as a parent when you've taught your children, you've instilled this in your children? I was all in. I really believed this was the truth. And so to come and tell your children it wasn't true and everything that I have taught you, we have to try to discard is kind of a horrible feeling as a parent. My main goal always as a mom was to raise children that have good hearts and are kind. And I really believe that that is the goal, regardless of whether I'm a Jehovah's Witness or not. But we have this whole problem of that there's still a lot of family members who are in the organization. And at this point, luckily that we had moved to a new state because we were not in close proximity to any of the Jehovah's Witness families, except my mom, who was basically waking up with me, and the kid's dad, who was somewhat homey, person out, mind in. Really don't understand that whole situation, but he quit going to meetings, and then he just chooses not to talk about it at all with the kids. But neither does he want to appear worldly to them. He just does not talk about any of those things. And the kids know that they aren't really allowed to broach the subject with him. So they leave it alone. But in my situation, that was probably even better than having now been divorced with someone who battles you to take them to meetings and raise them as a Jehovah's Witness. And my main goal always is to have open and honest communication with my children. And I feel like I've always done that. So we missed a couple meetings, and at that point the kids didn't really say much yet. Plus, this waking up process actually took a physical toll on me and my mom both. It's so hard to explain, where your brain just is so shocked because you really truly 100% believe this is the truth, and you really feel like you're in the wrong movie. If you haven't seen The Matrix, it's like The Matrix. I felt like I woke up from The Matrix. It was shocking. 4 generations in as a Jehovah's Witness, all this family history. My great-grandmother, she was in the concentration camp because she was a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, I was really always proud of that. I'm like, I'm really going to try to be faithful and loyal and make it till the end. And then all this stuff happened. And physically waking up was horrible. Plus, we had just endured a really traumatic marriage and divorce, and we're looking forward to having peace, and then all this stuff happened unexpectedly, where now I felt like I was going through the ringer back to back, and I felt alone. I really felt alone. No one was nearby. It was, we had moved to a new state, so it's not like I could move anywhere to be closer to family because now you have joint custody. And so it was my mom, me, raising kids, leaving the organization, leaving our entire social structure, and leaving people that the kids are close to too. We had very good friends. Even from the state that we'd moved from, friends would visit us, and we had a great time with them. We kept the friends that we were really close to and that were really nice people. So once you start waking up, you're going to lose all of that. And how healthy or unhealthy is that for children to be shunned and cut off? It's terrible. And so physically, I felt like I was starting to have an autoimmune disease from all the stress. I was sleeping. I was sitting there. It was depressing. It was horrible. Your entire life, your entire future, everything you hoped and wished for, it just crumbled. And it really was physically and emotionally terrible on me. So the kids kind of saw that it was taking a toll, and so they thought like, oh, we're not going to meetings right now because mom's like, no, not healthy. But then finally we had missed enough meetings where my kiddo said, when are we going to go to the meeting again? Because it's weird not to go for a few times. And so that was the time when I had to sit down and have a conversation with them. And I just really think it's the best thing to be open and honest and talk to kids and to really let them know. So we sat down and I started telling them about the child abuse in the organization. And I said that how they handle it is wrong and that it's really not safe for kids to be at the Kingdom Hall. And, I'm like, we have to take a stand for what's right. And right now that stance is not to go to the meeting and not to support this, because I cannot support something where there's child abuse going on. We can't support it. And my kiddo said, Mom, you're right. We have to be like Rosa Parks. We just have to, sit down and do a sit-in. And, not move. We're not going to go to meetings. And it really touched my heart when he said that we have to be like Rosa Parks. That was so sweet. I'm like, yes, you get it. Yes, we have to stand up for what's right. Yes. And then we had kind of watched some stuff with the kids too, about cults. But even as Jehovah's Witnesses, I would always watch TED Eds, like the TED Talks, but it's like little cartoon shorts almost. And there was one on cults. And I'm pretty sure we watched that when we were still in the organization. So if you haven't seen it, it's in my community thread. I put the link in there. And it's a really good short to watch about how cults operates. Yanya Lalit, she's a cult expert. She narrates it. Excellent video. So the kids kind of remembered that. And so when I told them, we're not going to go anymore, my little one was just ecstatic. He hated wearing meeting clothes. He hated it. And he said, yay! We don't have to drink the Kool-Aid anymore. I mean, I just could not even believe it. I could not even believe it that he put two and two together. Kids are so smart. And it was so funny. You have this little kid who says, we don't have to drink the Kool-Aid anymore. And he was dancing around. But here, I had to kind of slowly unravel everything that I have taught them. And as a Jehovah's Witness, you're instructed to talk to your kids morning to night about, quote unquote, the truth. And I did that. And the way I went about it is I said they lied to us. And I really wanted to show we feel duped, what they did is wrong. And on some level, I do feel oh boy, did you lose credit as a parent now? But on the other hand, isn't it good to apologize and say, hey, I also have been lied to, and I really thought this was the best way to raise our family, but here we are and it's not, and we're going to make a change, I can't say it was always easy. It wasn't. But I found a therapist to work with them. And to me, that was really important to have that for the kids, to kind of have their safe space, because they had their own things they had to go through. I think as we were still in the congregation and you're going to school and you say, oh, I don't, celebrate birthdays. I don't think the kids And I didn't either. I'm so honest about this. Like, as a kid, I did not mind not celebrating holidays because it just wasn't part of our life. And I felt like I'm doing it for God. And I was just like really convinced that we were doing the right thing. And it's kind of like a cult tactic because in a way it makes you feel better than other people. You know, like, oh, well, we have the truth. And so it's humbling to admit, no, we don't. You know, we missed out. Like, I missed out on kids' birthday parties and stuff. But my kids were young enough where they didn't have to miss out. They could now catch up and like integrate themselves into the world, so to speak, which is a whole scary and unique situation too. And for one, I feel like we're very affected from cult life, where I feel like sometimes like we're like weird a little bit from it, you know. And the younger you are, the better it is probably that you have left, because you know, you grew up and you meet somebody and you have to say, I never had like Christmas and we didn't have those family traditions. And so, but somebody who is a kind person will actually support you and love you and be there for you and not judge you. And so it wasn't always easy. And I think one of the hardest part was losing all the friends, the kids' friends that we had. And the kids, you know, being inside the congregation was our whole life. And this new congregation we had moved to, there were a ton of kids and they were all close. We would kind of babysit for each other, and, you know, we had people coming over all the time. All that falls away within one day. And that was, I think, incredibly hard. It was heartbreaking. And it's also heartbreaking because your friends, they think you're now on Satan's side. They think that you're no longer a good person, and you didn't even do anything. You didn't do anything. You just called out child abuse. But I just kept talking to the kids about how it's not right and how we have to stand up for what's right. And sadly, this is how a cult operates, and they understood. They understood. There is a Lego Exjw. I think it's Kevin McFree. I think his name. I can't remember his channel. I'll link it in my community after this video posted. But it's probably an unconventional method, but my kids loved his videos. And he just kind of makes fun with Lego figures, and it was so great to watch with the kids. It was so great because he kind of breaks like all these weird rules and everything apart and makes fun of them, and the kids, they loved those Lego series. So that was helpful. Yeah, in the beginning when you're waking up, it really feels scary, especially when people make fun of certain things. You bristle and you're like, oh gosh, oh no, I don't know if we should be watching that. And I will admit there were some parts that I even skipped still because I was still in the beginning process of waking up. But that was helpful. Therapy was helpful. Talking, all the time talking. And then trying to create new social structures for the kids was really important too. That's hard because we have such a fear of the world, and maybe we've lost like connections in the world, so you now have to kind of go in there. But there are good people inside the organization, and there's bad people inside of the organization. And remember this, there's also good people in the world, and there's also bad people in the world. It's both. Like, there's good and bad everywhere. And so we have to kind of stop thinking of this world as being so bad and terrible and everything. I don't want to be so negative and see everything with fear and being afraid. I want to find the good, and I want to see the good, and I want to stick to good people. And I think part of me thought, oh my goodness, how can I leave the congregation when my kids have been instructed to be moral, good people? But then I started thinking too, isn't it really actually so much better when they're able to be free? When they're able to be free and make mistakes that we all do, whether we're Jehovah's Witnesses or not. But now they don't have to worry about getting disfellowshipped as children or being soft shunned because they're not baptized yet, or judged constantly or criticized constantly, because I started thinking that it's really up to me. I can still and will teach them to be good people and have good hearts and try to do what's right in life. But now they get to be free. They can go play basketball and join the basketball team, and they can be cheerleaders. They can go to college without having any repercussions. And I started thinking, this is going to be so much of a better life, actually. We just kind of have to get through this. The kids can truly be free, and it is happier. We started to integrate celebrating birthdays, and there is an article on the Watchtower Library. You have to look it up. It's about piñatas. So go to the Watchtower online library and put in piñatas. This article is really eye-opening. They actually printed this, and I can't believe they did, but it says that the piñata is not looked as a pagan thing anymore. Now it's just something that people do. And so since it's not viewed as a pagan thing, you can basically go ahead and use a piñata. And I thought, that can be applied to everything. I'm pretty sure that people, when they celebrate birthdays, they don't think that, oh, I'm blowing out a candle, I'm chasing demons away. I mean, it's so goofy. Nobody thinks that. It's become something different. And that's what that article said. So that article, actually from the Watchtower Online Library, let me see, you know what? It's okay. Because really, do you really think that God will be offended if we celebrate a birthday? And I started thinking, actually, I'm pretty sure he would be so much more offended by all the child abuse cover-ups in the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall that is happening, rather than us here celebrating a birthday. And at the end of the year, the kiddos, they had to make like a sign, like Happy New Year or something, and two things that were really great that happened to me. And my little one, I think he was in first grade at the time, maybe second, he wrote, I celebrated my birthday and I left a cult. And it was so cute. He actually had a little thing for school. And you know, the first birthday was so weird. We were like, oh, we're not going to do a candle yet. Oh, we're not going to sing happy birthday yet. But we're just going to celebrate like this is the year you were born. And we're just, going to be like really low key. But one of the kids started crying and we took a break and talked about it. And then it was better. And then the next birthday, they were all super excited. And I never forced anything on anyone. I always talked openly. Like, are you on board? Do you feel okay with this? And I think the reason that the kiddo cried during the first birthday is just because it was so weird to do it after hearing it's wrong. And I feel like it's like unlearning all this stuff, and all this time that you spend learning it, you also have to unlearn it. And I did that by reading to them. Also really, truly watching documentaries with them about other cults. And just keep talking. And we unlearned. And now that years have gone by, they're doing great. I'm so happy to see them go to birthday parties and hang out with friends and just be kids and be free and make plans for college. It's just so exciting. It's really just, you can do it. It can be done. We got to get through this. But at the end of the day, we got to choose freedom. And we got to choose that we walk away from this high control, restrictive religion that doesn't let people have their own personalities and that makes mothers shun their own children and vice versa. That's so cruel. That is not loving. But I still had a lot of conversations to be had leaving the religion. It's not that easy to break it off. It's like a long, painful breakup because I had two of my very, very good friends and we were